Hello, fourth graders. Today we're going to be talking about how to make a Virginia Studies dump page for your Virginia Studies SOL test tomorrow. So right now I'm looking at the front side of my dump page, and there are a few different things that I want to include on that to make sure I have all those different things we've learned all year long that I can use on my Virginia Studies SOL test. So the first thing that I'm going to do is on that top half of my page, I'm going to draw the outline of Virginia. So that way I can get some of Virginia's geographical features. So I have that little triangle, big triangle, and then as I go on down, I kind of look at my hand to help me remember how many rivers. I have 1, 2, 3 rivers on down at the bottom, and then I have my eastern shore over here. And of course, I want to make sure I also include my compass rose so I know about the different directions as I'm asked questions about things that are north or east or south or west of one another, and I can always remember to never eat shredded wheat to remember my different directions on my compass. So now that I have my outline of Virginia, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mark where my different bordering states are. So let's see here. I really just draw my dividing lines at where each of those little points are, and then if I were to continue this line on down, that's where that last border would be. And I remember my saying, many wise kids take naps, to remember my bordering states, Maryland, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, and North Carolina. So there are my bordering states. The next thing I'm going to include are my different regions of Virginia. And if I continue this kind of border on down, there's my first border. I go from the top, I make a nice little racing stripe looking thing. Goes on down like that, gets a little wider at the bottom. And then right here where Virginia kind of dips down, that's where I'll separate my next 2 regions. And I can label them by remembering or saying a very big plastic chair which you guys are sitting in. So that tells me Appalachian Plateau, Valley and Ridge, my Blue Ridge region, my Piedmont, and my Coastal Plain regions. So there are my regions. Up next, I'm going to include my important bodies of water. So I have the saying that we learned going from the top, please remember your jacket, and then dot down here for a little, and then a circle going around that for dog. And I don't want to forget the Chesapeake Bay and Atlantic Ocean. And that tells me the Potomac River for please, the Rappahannock for remember, the York River for York, the James River for jacket, Lake Drummond for little, and then dog for the dismal swamp surrounding Lake Drummond. So there are my bodies of water. Up next, I want to include the important cities of Virginia. So all along this border right here is where those cities are going to go, and that border is also where the fall line is. So let's see here. On the Potomac River, I have A for Alex likes potatoes, or Alexandria is on the Potomac. On the Rappahannock River, I have an F for Fredericksburg because Fred and Rick wrap in a hammock. Fredericksburg is on the Rappahannock River. Then I have a Y for Yorktown, duh. And then lastly an R for Richmond because King James wanted to get rich, man. And those are my different fall line cities. So, got my cities down. Up next, I need to create my chart to show what the land looked like in each region. So, on down below my map of Virginia, I'm going to write my chart. I'm just going to look at my different regions to help me know what needs to go on my chart. So, I have a very big plastic chair for my different regions. Go ahead and divide that chart line up. And then I'm going to draw what the land looks like in each of my 5 regions of Virginia. I'm going to scroll on down here so you can see a little bit better. So, in the coastal plain, we have our low, flat land by the coast. And the Piedmont, we have those rolling hills. And the Blue Ridge, old, rounded mountains, the source of many rivers. And then in the Valley and Ridge, we have, well, ridges, valleys. And finally, in the Appalachian Plateau, high, elevated, flat land. And as I continue on with my chart, I want to also include my different products and industries by region. and it kind of makes sense. For me, it helps to just do the different products and industries that I know best. So Appalachian Plateau, I know has coal. That one is always easy for me. In the Valley and Ridge region, there are all those farms. So there's farming, and some of the things they're farming there are poultry. They're farming cows are on a farm, so dairy and beef. And they even farm apples in that region as well. So farming all sorts of products in the Valley and Ridge region. Up next is the Blue Ridge, Mr. Floyd's favorite region. So in that region, the things that they are mainly focusing on for their products are apples. And they also have Mr. Floyd's favorite industry, which is recreation, which is things like hiking and skiing and all that sort of fun stuff. In our Piedmont region, they have a variety of different products and industries. Main industry there that lots of our parents work in is government. So parents working in federal government and state government. There's also information technology, which is a fancy way of saying working with computers and things like that. We learned about a cash crop throughout Virginia Studies, tobacco. And then, of course, there's also the horse industry in the Piedmont region. Now, in the coastal plain, well, it's by the coast, so lots of things that have to do with being by the coast and the ocean. They have military for that giant Navy base. There's also shipbuilding. Well, it's by the coast, by the ocean, so ships make sense. Also in that region is tourism, because people are going to visit the beach. When you're visiting a place, you're a tourist. And in that region as well, they also have, let's think here, so they have military, shipbuilding, tourism. There's also peanuts are found in that region, and also being by the coast, of course, seafood, which also makes sense. So there's the front side of our dump page. It has all of our different products and industries. And again, I encourage you guys to make your dump page. You can pause and rewind as you practice making your dump page at home. So moving on now to the back side of our dump page, where we are going to include some other things. So on the back side, we can include things about Native Americans, which usually can be a little bit tricky. Settlement areas can be a little bit tricky, and different documents that different Virginians wrote. And of course, our state government. So we'll start out with the tribes. I'm going to draw a small little map of Virginia this time. Doesn't have to be nice and big and quite as detailed. Main things you need to remember is I have Virginia split up in these different ways, and we remember our saying, cool Indians make sharp, pointy arrows, and then one more, cool Indians, to remind us that the Cherokee spoke Iroquoian, the Monacan tribe spoke Siouan, the Powhatan spoke Algonquian, and there were also some Cherokee Indians in the southern part of Virginia near the North Carolina border that were also speaking Iroquoian. And I'll even circle Monacan, because if we think about present-day tribes, the Monacan tribe is the one tribe that is still there today, and they're located in the Piedmont region like they used to be a long time ago. So they're my tribes. Next thing I'm going to do is draw and do a quick little chart on how Native Americans survived through the seasons, and we're just going to write in some keywords for that. So through each season, let's see here, we'll start with summer and fall, winter and spring, and some key buzzwords for each of those seasons. Well, in the fall, they were harvesting their crops, and the winter time, they were living off the stored food. In the spring, they ate fish, berries, and in the summertime, they were tending crops. And the crops they were tending or growing were the three sisters. So there are my survival through the seasons. Up next, I'm going to make a quick little map of different settlement areas of Virginians who moved to the state during the colonial time period. So I'm going back to my different regions. There's my racing stripe, and then coastal plain and Piedmont regions. And I remember that the English got here first, so they took the best areas for themselves, And because they were relying on tobacco as a cash crop, they brought Africans over as slaves to work on those plantations. Then there were also another group that came that settled in the Shenandoah Valley, the Scotch, Irish, and Germans. They had to settle there because it wasn't quite as good, took a little longer to get to, but still a nice place to settle. And then those groups forced Native Americans to move further inland. So N for Native Americans. So there are my settlement areas. Up next, we have our different documents that Virginians wrote. So let's see here. We'll think starting kind of towards the beginning, going in chronological order. So starting off with my man Thomas Jefferson, he wrote the Declaration of Independence. I'm going to write just D-O, Independence, or Declaration of Independence. And he also wrote the statute, the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom. I'll just abbreviate there. This is just for you to remember who wrote what. Up next, we have another important Virginian, George Mason, who wrote the Virginia Declaration of Rights. I'll abbreviate that, Virginia Declaration of Rights, which had things like freedom of press, freedom of worship, and other rights that he wanted to have protected. Then last we have James Madison, who wrote the Constitution. Father of the Constitution, he took detailed notes, all those really good things. Helped delegates compromise. So last thing I'm going to include on the backside of my dump page is a quick little chart about our state government. And I use the acronym LEJ, L-E-J, to remember my different branches. That's for legislative, executive, and judicial. And I'm just going to quickly jot down who's and what they do. So in the legislative branch, we have the General Assembly, and they make laws. And in the executive branch, that's the governor, and they carry out laws. They're making sure they get done. That's right, carry out. And in the judicial branch, well, it sounds like judge, so it's the courts. And they decide if laws have been broken or if they are unconstitutional. So I'm just going to write decide. And that's pretty much all I would recommend putting on your dump page. You could put more, you could put less, but hope this helps you guys as you practice making that for your Virginia Studies SOL test tomorrow. Good luck, guys, and I hope this helps.